I'm gonna, I'm gonna hang up, Nanita, sorry.
Hi, everybody. I'm so sorry. We were having extreme technical difficulties getting in. So I sincerely apologize for being tardy. But I'm glad everyone is here. So let us go ahead and get situated. We also did not set up translation because of the technical difficulties. So I sincerely apologize. But let us go ahead and get settled and do that. And be patient with us. Thank you so much for being here. And I am so sorry
No
we are
worries.
late, but we're glad you're here. And thank you, thank you, thank you. So for the translation, let me know what you need to do. Go ahead.
Hi, how are you? No worries. Now we're here. So
Okay.
I was going to ask you if you were planning to make an announcement at the beginning of the program.
We
Would you
are.
like us to do that, or do you
You
have
can go
some?
ahead and do that. We already, because we're so late and we had technical difficulties, we're doing it in real time. Everyone's here. So go ahead and do what we need to do.
Okay, so we one of us should make an announcement, and that will be to everyone, and then after that, you can put us in the channel. If I'm gonna start interpreting, Julian, that means that you will have to make the announcement, and the announcement is it's you mean are we in the meeting already at this point?
Yes, we are. So just go ahead.
Okay, so well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. My name is Francisco Picado. I'm from Language Access LLC, and I am part of along with Julian Rivera, will be your team of interpreters this afternoon. Um, for those of you who have not gotten a chance to use this service before, you in a moment, the interpretation channel will be set up. You will see a globe on the bottom right of your screen. You will click on it and then choose the language of your choice. Buenas tardes a todos y bienvenidos. Mi nombre es Francisco, yo trabajo para Language Access LLC y Julián Rivera y yo seremos su equipo de interpretación esta tarde. Para aquellos que no han tenido la oportunidad de usar este servicio, en un momento, en la parte inferior derecha de su pantalla van a ver un globito para la interpretación. Pulsan el globo y seleccionan el idioma de su preferencia. Si están usando un celular, en vez del globito van a pulsar los tres puntos y luego seleccionar interpretación. Bueno, muchas gracias. So that's that for the announcement. So now you can proceed and start the interpretation channel. You can place us both, myself and Julian, in the channel since the announcement has already been made. And then we can go from there.
Great. Thank you. And I think Nanita is working on that for us. So we'll just give it a second.
Yeah, make me a host so I can manage the meeting.
You should be a host now.
Okay.
For the interpretation channel, normally just the original host is able to set it up. So if you're a co-host, unfortunately the program doesn't give you those rights.
Yeah, you have to give me a full power, Molly.
Okay, hold on. Thanks for bearing with us. Hold on just a second.
Ninita will take nothing less than full power.
Yeah, just click on my name, the three dot, I believe on your right.
Okay, Nanita, you should be good.
Yeah, have the full power. Yes.
All right, let me know when we're good to start.
We are good to start.
Okay, great. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Give me a second.
We
Okay. Hold on, please.
Do I need to start to record a meeting?
Yes, please. Oh, it looks like the recording is on.
On. Okay.
So hold on just a second. Right. All right. Okay. Oops. Give me a second. And we're going to go ahead here. Thank you again for bearing with us for our technical difficulties. Really appreciate it and appreciate you all being here. So tonight we're going to talk about the Alameda Avenue lane repurposing and what's going on. So hopefully you've all gone ahead and are in the right language. Let us know in the chat if you're having any technical difficulties. I do want to just do some housekeeping that we have the chat available and everyone can see that. You are welcome to talk amongst yourselves there or to us. But there should also be a Q&A feature. Do you guys see that?
Yeah, it's under the three.
Okay, it's under the three dots. We will be looking there to answer your questions. We'll also be monitoring the chat, but it will just be easier. We'll have some opportunity for questions towards the end, and it will be easier for us to kind of look at the Q&A. So please, if you have a question that you want us to answer, please put that in the question and answers. It just helps us keep better track of it instead of in the chat. But by all means, share your thoughts as we go through here in the chat. And so I want to say our agenda, but first and foremost, let me do introductions. I am Molly Lamphere. It says Dottie Community and Business Engagement on my little name. That is who I work for in the world of Dottie, but my name's Molly. I'm a strategic communications liaison. And despite my efforts to fight with Zoom tonight, that is not my full-time job. Usually I am out in community and kind of your liaison for some of our major projects as well as to City Council. And then I'm going to allow my colleagues. Rebecca, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, and hopefully you can hear me. We're sharing one mic here. So Rebecca Draper, I'm the manager of the community and business engagement here at Dottie. So work really closely with Molly on lots of different things.
And Brett, go ahead.
Sure. My name is Brett Boncory. I'm an engineer supervisor with Dottie in our integration implementation team and the project manager for this project.
Great. All right. So tonight we are going to talk about the goals of the Alameda Lane repurposing. We're also going to talk, I think a lot of people know we're moving forward with a demonstration. We're going to explain what that means and then the details of that demonstration. We're going to talk about how that demonstration will ultimately be evaluated. And then we're going to talk about next steps and, as I said before, have an opportunity to do questions and answers. All right, so I'm going to start out just giving you kind of an overarching summary of like where this project is in the world of Dottie and what drives us to do our work every day. And that is Denver Moves Everyone. This is a plan that is on our website, but also is a plan that is a strategic document that did robust community engagement. It sets out all our goals looking towards 2050. And the vision is, and I will read this because I do think it's important, is Denver moves everyone and everything with respect and care. Denver is a city of safe streets, connected by sustainable mobility options, providing equitable access and opportunities for the people who need it most. And I'm not going to read the rest of the slide. That's all the reading I'll do today. But the goals align very closely with actually the goals of Alameda and what we're looking at. And that's mobility, safety, sustainability, community, and quality. And throughout our work is this equity focus. So this is just what drives us. It's how we pick projects. It's why we do the work we do. So the Alameda Lane repurposing goals have not changed throughout the entirety of this project. And that is to maintain safety and access for drivers. As you saw on the last slide, safety is one of our paramount goals as well throughout Dottie, and this project is no exception. It's to reduce crashes along the corridor, specifically preventable crashes, right, is what we're talking about. And when we looked at the crash picture, we saw a lot of those left turn crashes that we thought really could be prevented, as well as some others. It's to enhance safety and comfort for both pedestrians and cyclists. It's to support transit service throughout the corridor. We know this is not only a major thoroughfare for many people, but for buses as well. And then it's to support business access and activity. So there are many businesses along the corridor, and we certainly want to make the corridor better for those businesses. So as many of you know, we are moving forward with a demonstration. And what that demonstration is, I'll turn it over to Brett shortly, but it's going to be a full lane reduction along Alameda. And prior to us meeting, we did have two working group stakeholder meetings. And during that time, we talked a lot about this full lane reduction and what this would mean. And out of that working group, we decided to do the full extent. So that would be from Pennsylvania to Franklin. And so the demonstration is really allowing us to conduct, to do this in real time, right? And do analysis in the fields that will ultimately inform the final design and the final decision. So I am going to pass it over to Brett to talk a little more. Oh, sure. I will go ahead. Oh, I don't know if I can, because I'm sharing.
Oh, Laura, or maybe Brad, if you need to go over.
I may just have to move. Oh, hold on. Okay, got it. Okay.
All right. So yeah, maybe if you could click out of that, Molly, so we can see the whole screen, this whole slide. There we go. Great.
Oops.
So here's I'm back on the overview of the limits of the project as it stands. So the entire project extends from Lincoln to Franklin, the whole safety project. But the lane reduction demonstration limits are specifically here shown in red from Pennsylvania to Franklin, with a half block of transition zone between Logan and Pennsylvania there. As Molly mentioned, we did have a previous iteration of these project limits that I just wanted to mention here. And since then, we've been collaborating with the working group to arrive at the limits that you now see here, which matches the limits of the initial lane reduction project. And I just want to say a detailed concept of the proposed improvements is available on our project website. You can access that by scanning the QR code at the bottom right here, or simply navigate to denvergov.org and search for Alameda Lane repurposing or something like that. It'll read it if it was something like that too, and you can find it that way. Today we'll be going through the design at 1,000-foot level, if you will, but I would encourage everyone to check out that online concept if you're the type of person who really wants to dig into the details there. Next slide. So here's a map of the permanent safety improvements that will be installed with this, what we're calling demonstration project. The the icons shown in blue outline this. These are things like reduced speed limit throughout the entirety of the project limits. So that'll be from 30 miles an hour to 25 miles an hour. Some new designated left turn lanes, the permanent left turn lanes at both Pearl and Pennsylvania. Some spot safety improvements that are aimed at mitigating some known crash patterns. We have the rectangular rapid flashing beacon, or RFB, the little flashing lights, crosswalk and pedestrian island refuge at Franklin, and then several other elements that you see called out here in blue that you can read on the screen. I will note we do have some safety improvements off the Alameda corridor as well, and that really is to mitigate any of the spillover impacts of any of the Alameda treatments. One of those is at Virginia and Downing, where we have a lot of pedestrian and bike traffic, and actually a pedestrian bike crash picture at that intersection right near Washington Park. So in order to mitigate some of those potential safety issues that might come from any of these Alameda treatments, we'll be installing several treatments there, like a leading pedestrian interval where the pedestrian gets the walk phase before the adjacent traffic does, for like 5 seconds before the adjacent traffic. High visibility traffic signals at that location, and some flex post and paint pedestrian bulb outs on the north side of that intersection to mitigate some of those issues as well that are off the screen here. Next slide. Now for the demonstration elements to walk through these. So first and foremost, as everyone knows, this will include a lane reduction in this stretch from 2 to 1 lane in both directions between Pennsylvania and Franklin. It's shown here in the orange bar. And then again, in the purple, there'll be a small transition zone just west of Pennsylvania to help us get to that lane reduction section there east of Pennsylvania. So just to run through some of the key elements of what this demonstration will look like in this specific stretch, zooming in here. So the space gained by that lane reduction will be used for a few different safety treatments. Most importantly, to mitigate the crash pictures that we've been seeing, this space will be used for designated turn lanes at several intersections that you can see here, marked with the orange 1 icon there. These left turn lanes are the primary safety benefit of the project. They allow left turns. If you're trying to take a left turn onto the side street from Alameda, they allow those left turns to move out of the flow of through traffic, fast moving through traffic, to safely, with time, conduct your turn and not have that like rear pressure that so often makes us take left turns more quickly than we would like. And that so often does actually contribute to these left turn angle crash pictures. This section also, with some of that space, will include a pedestrian buffer between the travel lanes and the sidewalk from Washington to Franklin. An example of that is shown in the bottom right of the slide here. It will include some flex post pedestrian refuge islands at 5 locations. That's an example that's shown on the left here. And some mid-block on-street parking near the business node between Pennsylvania and Washington there. Those are marked with an orange 4 icon on this map. I just want to note, while these improvements will be done in more temporary material kind of format, it is the same original full lane reduction geometric design, and will allow us to evaluate the performance of that full suite of safety treatments that we're going to be implementing. Next slide. So a key part of this, as Molly said, is doing an evaluation. So an in-field analysis of the results that we're seeing from the demonstration. So I'm going to walk you through now the evaluation objectives and metrics of success that we'll use for this evaluation, all nested underneath our Denver Moves Everyone goals that you see here on the left and Molly mentioned. And then nested underneath these metrics of success that you see on the right here, we have a whole nother level of detail of both quantitative and qualitative data collection metrics and methods that we'll use to inform these metrics of success. And I'll speak to those as we go through this. I guess main point here is all this does, again, roll up to our DME goals, as you can see here on the left. And just to start at the top, our first and foremost objective is that everyone arrives safely to their destination and that we improve safety on this high injury network street. Our first metric of success tied to this is to see if we've contributed to a safer Alameda with this project. It's the primary goal of this project. To do this, we'll collect crash data to monitor, of course, serious bodily injury and fatal crashes, and then the specific crash types we're looking to mitigate. Again, the left turn crashes, the angle crashes, and also the sideswipe crashes that are common with these and that we see on Alameda, which is like a 4-lane undivided street here. We'll also be collecting data related to speed changes. We'll also be conducting some engineering safety observations to understand those things that we can't necessarily get from quantitative data collection. Those things like near misses, they don't get reported in the crash data, and other behavior changes that we might be seeing as a result of the lane reduction. And then going down, we want to make sure to the second metric of success within this objective. We want to confirm that we're not unintentionally shifting some of the safety risks to nearby neighborhood streets when we do this. A sort of whack-a-mole, if you will, and we want to avoid that. So we've planned a few mitigations on the side streets, such as the pedestrian and signal timing improvements at Downing and Virginia that I mentioned before. And really what this metric is doing is confirming whether those mitigations are effectively addressing any of those secondary safety impacts that might result from the Alameda changes. And so, of course, we'll collect that same safety data that I mentioned before for the first metric here to understand a picture of this. SBI, are we increasing SBI's fatals? Anything like that that really moves our bottom line. And then now our second objective, down to mitigating operational impacts to the neighborhood and impacts to businesses. This metric is focused more on operations, both traffic and business operations. For this one, we'll monitor how traffic shifts to the neighborhood streets and verify whether those traffic volumes remain within our design expectations for these streets outlined in Endeavor Complete Streets guidelines. So we'll also monitor queue lengths on Alameda and see how those, the queue basically that are building up at the signals, how those compare to our anticipated queues from the traffic analysis that we conducted earlier in the project. Well, and then we'll look also like at things like gap availability. And that's it's a technical term that essentially means to see if it's still reasonably possible to exit the side streets onto Alameda, whether that's it. If you're trying to take a left, go through, or take a right on Alameda. So we'll be looking at all that. We also want to know, like I mentioned, if the project has supported Alameda businesses, which was a goal of the project, right? I mentioned some of the on-street parking near the business node between Pennsylvania and Washington, but we also want to make sure we're not causing severe impacts to those businesses, right? So we'll be conducting a community survey as well. It's more qualitative an approach that will married with the quantitative data and look at it as a whole to gather business and resident sentiment around these impacts. And kind of continuing to that, the third objective here is to provide more comfortable mobility options for everyone. This speaks to the extent to which the project creates a more comfortable environment. We have a metric of success specifically tied to comfort along Alameda, and a metric of success specific to comfort of the surrounding neighborhood as well. We'll measure both. We'll use actually a quantitative metric here too, using some observed bike and pet activity and marrying that with perceived comfort and safety, which we'll obtain from a community survey. And then the last thing I'll say before we move on from this slide is how we'll frame and consider the evaluation as a whole. Of course, not every data point we expect to point in the strictly positive direction, if you will. That's expected, right? Some outcomes, though, are non-negotiable, such as reducing serious injury and fatal crashes, and reducing the targeted crash types that we seek to reduce here. But other metrics, for example, just throwing this out there, if we see queues are slightly longer than anticipated on Alameda, right? We have to interpret that, take that in the broader context of all of the data that we're receiving, rather than we're not going to let one single metric, unless it's one of those non-negotiables, not let one single metric drive the overall evaluation and determination of the success of the project, if that makes sense. So.
Okay. So now I want to talk about timeline a little bit and just get you up to speed on what we've been doing and where we're going. And just a reminder, I know people seem to be putting a lot in the chat. Just a reminder, after this, I believe this slide, we're going to open it up for questions. And so please go ahead and submit your questions into the Q&A as we go. And apparently you guys are doing that. So good job listening to instructions. So as I mentioned, we had 2 meetings with the working group stakeholders. I believe a lot of them are on here today. So thank you for being involved in a smaller group discussion, just so we could hear feedback and be transparent in the process and really try and get this right as we come to the broader community now. Right now, we are doing our public meeting, trying again to be as transparent in this process as we can and give plenty of time for feedback and for us to listen to that and take it into account as we go into construction and then evaluation. We're doing a pretty quick turnaround though of now until May, we're going to move forward with that construction of the demonstration. And we, over the summer, you will see along Alameda that we will do the construction. And then we're going to give about 3 months for kind of traffic patterns to settle. This is what we do with other projects as well. And then we're really we're not just going to install it and then leave. We're going to be monitoring kind of the crash data here. We hope that you will also let us know what's going on that maybe our data doesn't tell us, whether that is in the form of the survey, which we will do, but also just giving us feedback through your RNO, through your council members, through our office, that sort of thing. And then during basically after 3 months, we'll have kind of this evaluation period. And then in winter and spring of 2027, we're going to do a full analysis. So that's kind of looking at the crash data, looking at volumes, looking at congestion, that sort of thing, side street diversion, and also doing that community survey to really give us an overarching big picture of how this demonstration is working. And as Brett said, there's some non-negotiables that would make us tweak the design before that process happens. But if we're not seeing a serious bodily injuries or fatalities on the corridor, we will likely remain nimble and look at that data that we get to perhaps make tweaks or perhaps just make some of those temporary features permanent. But what we can commit to is in summer 2027, we will come back to the community and explain kind of what we found from that evaluation and then what those next steps are, what that final design looks like ultimately. So with that, we just want to summarize kind of where we're going. I just talked about a lot of it, but just to reiterate that we will finalize a demonstration based on community feedback, but also based on the data and the evaluation metrics that Brett and his team are going to be pulling. We will procure a contractor Again, we're doing that right now into the summer. And then just want to iterate that the Franklin and Alameda rectangular rapid flashing beacon is going in at separately no matter what as part of this project. And that should happen over the summer, probably towards the end of the summer. And then Downing in Virginia as well, we will be making pedestrian safety improvements there. And that will also happen no matter what, but towards the end of the summer, that we really hope that those improvements will help on Virginia specifically to really make sure that any diversion reduces conflict with all users in that along that stretch. So yeah, I think, let's see, I think we're at the question part. Yeah. I can mute for
Brett, because I actually think many of these questions, we're going to keep you busy with some technical questions. I think some of them have been answered. We do have a couple in the chat that we'll make sure we get to as well. But we have a number here in the Q&A starting with, and there are a number asking about the evaluation period and the length of the evaluation period. So the first one was, how long is the evaluation period for the demonstration? And then maybe we can pop down to the other ones related to that.
Yeah, sure. So it's a little tricky question. So how long is the evaluation period? We will be waiting at least 3 months before we pull actual crash data. We need at least 3 months for traffic patterns to normalize before we start pulling crash data to get a 6-month window of time. It's not so basically we'll take 6 months of crash data is what we're going to have for now. And then we are going to supplement that with speed data that we'll be collecting. Speed is the largest driver of safety on our streets. And so we'll be collecting to see if the combination of the speed limit changes with the infrastructure changes actually reduce speeds. And then we'll also do our volume and pedestrian counts, or volume and speed counts, excuse me, later on, likely to wait about, it probably will be counted 6 to 9 months after construction, those tube counts. And so in all, really, we're evaluating 6 months of crash data after the 3-month normalization period for now, right? Of course, we want more data after that, and we'll continue to monitor it after that, beyond the 6-month time. And then, 6 to 9 months down the road, we'll actually do kind of like a point data pull, if that makes sense, after we've given even more time for things to settle out and collect volumes and go do our field observations and things like that, if that makes sense. I hope that answered the question.
Okay. And I think this is similar theme to that question, again, about the normalization period.
Yeah.
Specifically, we have it in the chat and in the Q&A explaining why we're waiting 3 months as opposed to what was understood to be a longer period, perhaps 9 months as best practice.
Yeah. Yeah. So anytime we do a project like this, it really our normalization period, really the range can be anywhere from 3 months to a year, depending on what the project is. Of course, it's nicer to have more time. We're trying to more quickly triage, is this a good thing or not? And to do that and to either make it permanent or not, right? And so in order to do that, we can go down to a 3-month traffic normalization period. And we feel that that is going to be enough time for patterns to settle and allow the kind of initial pattern changes to happen during that time and things to settle out and be kind of operating in a normal environment at that point. Yes, of course, 9 months would be better, but we believe we can do the 3 months now with what we've got, and to make that decision to move forward.
Okay. How will the vehicle travel lanes be delineated?
Great question. To be a mix of paint and flex posts. So, like typical. So like the flex posts or the white delineators. We'll have those in strategic locations like around the pedestrian refuge islands, at some of the safety treatments where we will be prohibiting some left turns out of the neighborhood. But mostly it will be delineated through paint.
Okay. Keep going here. We've got, are the metrics of success weighted or prioritized in any way in the evaluation? The project is about Alameda. 3 of the questions or metrics are about things not on Alameda. Those streets should be dealt with as well. Otherwise, you're seeing the safety of those on Alameda is less than those on other streets. This was also in the chat as well.
Okay. Yeah, I think so yeah, like I mentioned, when we do a lane reduction like this, we want to make sure that we're not causing unintended safety issues on parallel streets, to make sure we're not playing a whack-a-mole here with improving safety on Alameda just to have another safety issue pop up somewhere else. And so we are doing some proactive measures to try to mitigate some of those safety issues, like I mentioned with Virginia Downing. Some of those projects, some other things have already kind of gone in, like the Dakota Neighborhood Bikeway and things like that, that will mitigate some of those safety issues. And so our primary thing is improving safety on Alameda, but we can't look away from what that might be doing elsewhere. Our job at Dottie is to improve the safety of the whole network. And so we want to make sure we're taking a holistic look at that.
Yeah, and I can add.
Yeah, please.
I'm going to add a little bit to that because I think if we had all the resources in the world, we make sure every street was safe, and we're in a situation where with the resources we have, we absolutely need to be sure we're not causing safety concerns on other streets, because the reality is that it may take some time to address those safety concerns because of our resources. So we need to just be wise with our money and wise with your money, to be frank, and make sure we're using it in smart ways that are improving safety for the whole neighborhood.
Yeah.
This is about mobility and congestion. Why are there no criteria related to traffic mobility, congestion? What about corridor travel times, average signal queues? What about changes in volume on Alameda and on major parallel streets such as Virginia?
Yeah, absolutely. Those will be, so we will be looking at volume changes on Alameda in parallel streets. That's part of the operational piece. And to see diversion on there, we are going to be looking at that. We're also going to be doing travel time runs. It's not in the evaluation metrics table, because really what we're concerned about is the two major non-negotiables. Two of the major non-negotiables for us are if we're causing safety issues as a result of those. So yeah, if we have queues that are backing up across intersections and we see developing crash pictures at those intersections because now you have the backup across an intersection and that's happening a lot and we're seeing more crashes develop. Like that's what we really care about, right? We're okay. We know this is going to cause a little bit more delay on Alameda. We know that. And we will be measuring that to see how is it compared to what we anticipate with queues. So we will be measuring those things. I think the real thing that we're evaluating, really the success of this, is when those things start to trip pretty, essential safety issues. And if the traffic volumes on the surrounding network are tripping our thresholds for what those streets should carry per the Complete Streets guidelines, that's a big non-negotiable for us as well. So we will be looking at all of that.
Okay, this one's related, specific to Logan and Downing.
Okay.
Will the operational evaluation include potential increased delay in vehicle queuing on Logan and Downing?
Yes, we will be looking at that. It will be more observational, like all this is. We'll be able to use video data to observe where queue lengths are and things like that, and if we're causing more safety issues on those. Most importantly, if we're causing safety issues on those side streets. So yes.
Okay. This one might be more for Molly in her court. Since this is such a high profile project, how will Dottie ensure that the survey doesn't turn into a competition? Both sides of the argument to get the most people to fill out the survey.
Sure. So we can, first of all, the more people that fill it out, to me, the better. The more data we have, the better. The survey, as Brett mentioned, is not the only thing that is going to influence our decision here. It's kind of helping us to understand the story, right? The whole story, the whole picture here. The survey will include things like, how do you use Alameda? So it has a question there that says, I travel through Alameda. I live in this neighborhood. I live in that neighborhood. I work on Alameda. So it allows us to see if the data is really reflective of the people that live there, travel there, bike there, what kinds of people we're getting. We also have, we will also ask zip codes so we can see where people are coming from that fill out the survey. As I think personally, it's it's something we do on many of our projects. The community survey is a really important piece of the puzzle, but it's just that. It's a piece of a puzzle. It's not the end all be all. We know it has happened in other projects where a certain side floods the survey, and it's pretty obvious from our questions what sides do that. Having said that, it is important for us to, I think, take that into account, just plain and simple. So I'll leave it at that. Happy to dive deeper into that.
Molly, so this one would be for Brett. Hearing you now talking about comparative volumes and queue lengths, why aren't those described in the comparison criteria? Can you provide the baseline data values that you'll be using for comparisons after the demonstration project is done? And did you do field comparisons of model projections versus existing field measured values?
Sure. It's like 3 questions in there, I think.
Yeah.
Again, we didn't put it in the table because really what we're evaluating, what's most important to us is, well, in some ways I did put it in the table actually, because we talked about volumes on side streets. And if that trips our thresholds in the Complete Streets design guidelines, then queues, again, it is, are there really what we really care about when it comes to the queues? Of course, we're going to be collecting queue length data in the before condition over the next month or so, month or two, and then also in the after condition to compare. But what we really care about and what was in the table is if those queues are leading to significant safety issues at the intersections as a result. So that answered all those questions.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
Okay.
And I should say, if we don't get to all the questions, we will answer them and provide answers to everything in a follow-up to all who have joined, because I think we have more than we can get to here, which is good to have the questions coming in. So when conducting the gap analysis, will you be assessing gaps that allow illegal left turns across double yellow lines at no left turn intersections?
This is a pretty specific question, and I'd imagine this person might be referring to like Corona, where you've got no left turn signs there, and there's a center line across it. So one of our, and please correct me, that I don't know who posted that, but please correct me if I'm wrong there. One of our spot safety improvements is with some of the additional data that we have, and I think you have it. Maybe go to the previous slide, Molly.
Oh, sorry.
There is a spot safety improvement you see there at Corona, and you can see it online in the more detailed concept. We're actually formalizing that no left turn prohibition with some flex posts. So really for us, it's going to be more, what's our compliance, I would say, at those intersections. What are our compliance when we're actually reinforcing the no left turn condition there to make sure that people aren't going across the center line there, especially because now there's going to be vertical elements in the way of that. And so, yeah, we're going to be evaluating the compliance of those safety treatments. That's going to be pretty primary for that location.
Okay. Can you please fix the timing of the westbound east Alameda light at Marion? Currently, traffic stops at the same time as on Downing, so cars block up the crosswalk and Marion intersection.
Yeah, great question. We actually will be doing a corridor signal retiming effort along with all of this. So with the lane reduction, we will also be reprogramming the signals to make sure that there's clean progression throughout. And one of those things is cleaning up some of this, hopefully, at Marion and Downing, because they are so close. The intersections are so close. It does become more and more important that our time between greens and reds between those is really clean. Of course, you're going to get stragglers and people trying to sneak through and things like that we're not going to be able to control. But as far as it's in our control, to be able to time those so that situations like that aren't happening. We'll be doing that as part of the project as well.
Okay, and here's one about the school session, and I believe I saw another one somewhere else. A statement, not a question, but the importance to hone in on the data while school is in session, starting in late August. That's when we have our most vulnerable pedestrians on Alameda.
Absolutely. Yep. We will be collecting our data when school's in. Yep. Thank you for that.
Okay, let's see here. This one we've already answered. Okay, might need this slide. Can you be more clear about metric number 2 under business? Supporting business is vague.
Okay. I can try to do that. I mean, I think one of the things that we're also trying to do with this is make sure we're not severely impacting businesses along this corridor and the people that go there. So that would be specific to the businesses that are along Alameda. So there are several near the my mind's blanking right now on the names, Pennsylvania and Pearl area, where we're adding some on-street parking. And there's some near Downing. And so we will be making sure to just get their take on how this project is or isn't impacting businesses. Molly, did you have anything else you wanted to add to that?
Just that asking specifically in the survey as well if people are business owners, just so we can take that perspective into account as well.
Standard.
Rebecca, you are muted.
Not so 10-foot actually is our standard width, with a couple exceptions to the rule there that we have. So that actually is our standard width in the city of Denver. I know different municipalities, different DOTs have different widths for that. In our most recent complete streets standards, 10 feet is our standard width. So again, there are some exceptions to that where we go for 11-foot lanes where we have major volumes of heavy truck volumes. So thank you. Thank you for that one. But yeah, 10 foot is our standard width. All right, 1 second. There you go.
Oh, no problem. Yeah. So was the loading area kept on the eastbound section right after Downing for the Starbucks traffic? Those drivers don't care about crossing a double yellow line and hold up traffic on a daily basis. That makes sense.
Yeah, we'll have to maybe get back with this person, Shonda, because we don't actually have a loading area within the street there. You might be maybe referring to the driveway. But yeah, no, if you're referring to the driveways into like the parking lots and things, none of those driveways will be closed or altered with this project. So maybe that answers their question.
Okay. We're still getting a few in the chat there too, but here's one. Are the outcome success metrics in priority order? If yes, why are you deprioritizing pedestrian safety so much in an area with 2 schools and lots of kids as part of foot traffic?
Now, maybe the easy way to answer that is no, they're not in priority order. Pedestrian safety and pedestrian vulnerable user safety is very important to this project and is the primary goal of the project. So,
okay. Can we keep the last configuration of the study period in place until the post-study engineering and pre-construction phase, until final construction begins, rather than undoing and redoing the adjustments?
Maybe, okay. Can we keep the last configuration of the study period in place until the post?
I think they're asking
Yeah.
not to change, like to go back and forth with design.
Okay, got it.
Or-
Got it.
yeah.
Yeah, I think I understand the question. If the question's about not going back and forth and redoing things, yeah, the intent here is that if everything goes according to plan and we don't get any unintended consequences that we've been talking about, particularly related to safety and operations that we've been talking about, the design will remain. We will have to go back and just do some very minor adjustments to make everything permanent, but everything would change and we wouldn't actually have to redo things. I think, does that answer the question?
Mhm.
Okay.
Can I jump in and say something?
Yeah, sure.
I'm just gonna say we're at 6:30 now. I know it's on us. We started late, so I'm totally fine to stay on here a little bit later. But I do want to thank everyone because I know probably people need to hop off for your time. We're gonna stay on. I think we were about 10 minutes late. We're gonna stay on for 10 more minutes. And just really appreciate your time again and keep putting things in the Q&A because that's what we're going to look at for the questions we don't have time for this evening.
All right, we'll keep going. Can Oh, we already answered this question about being in school session,
Yeah.
so that's a yes. Again, another how important that is. Is there data or a public site or data piece that shows the historic number of accidents? Where and how will you be measuring per demonstration period?
Yeah, so there is a Vision Zero public-facing Vision Zero portal. It's available. We can maybe send out that link afterwards for those who are interested. You might go on to that one again, just to make sure I answered that.
Sorry.
And how will you be measuring per demo period? Yeah, we'll be using the crash reports that come in through DPD, Denver Police Department. We use those crash reports along with speed data. Speed is one of the largest drivers of safety, to see if we're reducing speeds with the treatments that we're doing. And we will be doing some engineering safety observations out there to see if we are noticing any more near misses, or other risky behaviors and things like that that would be contributing to the safety of the corridor.
And I just wanted to add, I think I just wanted to add that do my PSA here of if there is an accident in the neighborhood, or if you're involved in an accident anywhere, we're only as good as what our data tells us. And a lot of accidents don't actually get reported to DPD. So it is important that if you are in an accident, if your neighbor's in a crash, that you go ahead and report that. So even if it's minor, it gives us data points, no matter where you are in the city, honestly.
Let's see. Will driver convenience, driver delay be a factor in whether safety changes are removed from Alameda?
So again, of course, we are measuring travel times, queues, things like that. Those are things we want to know. Again, can you go back real quick just to make sure whether safety changes are removed? I think we would remove them only if SBIs, serious bodily injuries, fatals went up, the crashes we're trying to prevent went up, the same thing for surrounding corridors, if they went up if we perceive they've gone up due to diverted volumes. And then if volumes do trip those thresholds in the Complete Streets guidelines of what kind of volume a street should carry. But just to say driver delay and convenience, no, we wouldn't remove it just because driver delay and convenience itself. There would have to be contributing factors to do that.
Okay. And here's a short question. Will the left turn lanes have green arrows?
No. No, they will not. We don't use green in our turn arrows on the surface. We will place left turn arrows in the permanent section. In the temporary section, those are done with thermo, and we wouldn't be placing those in the demonstration section for now, but we usually use white arrows when we do that.
Okay. Let's see, this one, has the safety whack-a-mole been an issue on other high injury network streets? Are we seeing a rise in fatalities on parallel side streets in Denver because Dottie is too aggressive with safety interventions on high injury network streets?
This is a great question. And something we are actively tracking. I think the short answer to that is with where Alameda is in relation to the surrounding network. We have suspicion to believe, just because of the network and how parallel you have, for instance, Virginia, which is not that far away from Alameda and is a collector and is somewhat a quick way to get through the neighborhood as well after Alameda, right? We just see that there's higher potential for some of that diversion to happen. And we're putting that diversion right next to Wash Park, which is one of our highest multimodal access parks in the city. So with this specific one, we see there is a potential that we might be causing unintended safety impacts to that adjacent roadway. So we just want to measure that, make sure that we're covering that base. But I do think it is something we are increasingly looking at, I will say, these days, to make sure that we're looking at the whole picture.
Okay, this one is about the resources that are being used for doing the demonstration, and maybe you can talk about what that actually would look like.
Sure.
If Dottie has limited resources in terms of staff and money, why are we spending more money to install temporary materials than reinstall them when this project is just pretty much a restriping project?
Yeah, I mean, your last statement kind of sums it up. In our world, it's a relatively low amount of money that we're talking about to do the temporary then permanent, because it is a striping project. And that money we have in the budget, the project budget, actually, we've actually coincidentally found some contracting mechanisms since the project started, since some of the initial cost estimating, that is actually allowing us to do the project much more affordably. And so we still have it in the project budget to be able to do this with the budget that we have.
I just want to
Sure.
jump in there. I see in the chat, I see a lot of questions about like data. And I know, Christina, thank you for sharing the Vision Zero dashboard. But I will go ahead and commit to, in the FAQ section of the website, we'll go ahead and link to some of the data that has informed our decision and the historical data about Alameda. I think we included that originally and then took it down because the webpage was just getting busy, but I'll put it back up. So you have my commitment to do that as well as like the refreshed FAQs. So we will do that.
I see we've got probably one more minute, so maybe we can get to just a couple more questions. And then, like we said, we will provide responses to all of the questions as well as document the chat for follow-up of this email. Of course, this meeting will also have a recording of this meeting in English and in Spanish. This one is about construction timeline, concerned about the time that construction will take and whether what has happened with the lengthening of Colfax Ave reconstruction will occur on Alameda, given East Colfax. How realistic are your construction estimates timeline?
We try to be as realistically conservative as possible with these construction timelines. I know 2 months looks pretty quick. Kind of to the last question, this is a very different project in materiality than Colfax. Colfax, they're practically rebuilding the whole street, curb lines, introducing median stations, things of that nature. With this, and with that, it just takes longer to do concrete improvements when you're redoing curb lines and doing bulb outs at the intersection, rebuilding traffic signals, doing medians in the middle and concrete. That just takes a considerable more amount of time than what we're contemplating on Alameda, which, as has been said, is signing and striping improvements with some of those vertical delineator posts. And not nearly the scale of Colfax. I think we have a mile of Alameda, and I think Colfax is, I forget, but many more miles than that, I'll say.
Maybe we wrap it there.
All right. Well, I'm going to go to the last slide really quick because it's my contact information. Which is, I believe, also on the website. But on the website is you can sign up to stay informed. I believe this webinar, we did not ask you to sign in, so we don't have, if you want to stay up to date on the project, we will certainly communicate with both Councilman Cashman and Councilwoman Alvarez, as well as the RNOs in the neighborhood. And we will post an FAQ, updated FAQ to our website, as well as the recordings, and try as much as we can to keep you involved in the process. Again, we apologize for our technical difficulties at the beginning. Thanks for hanging in with us, and thank you so much for joining us. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Are you trying